I was surprised how the Warriors went last year. I thought they were going to have a really good year and certainly be a top 4 side. What I saw from the Warriors against Manly was what they did well 2 years ago.
Absolutely nobody picked that because the Roosters were absolutely pantsed week 1. Them to come back and beat Penrith just shows where we are with this competition. There's actually quite a lot of parity.
Out night clubbing afterwards because we're the Broncos.
You've got to stop. Seriously, you've got to stop with this.
We took our shirts off and we nippled up in the nightclub. If you were a Panthers fan or if you're a Storm fan, you can do that. You're a Warriors fan.
Welcome to the DSPN.
John Walker wins the 1,500 metres gold medal at the Olympic Games. The All Blacks have won by 29 points tonight.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the show, people. DSPN, Martin Devlin and Lachlan Waugh. BLT, that's a big league Tuesday. Joel Gould from AAP out of Brisbane. Matt Gunn out of Twizel, big doggies fan, happy with their 2-0 start. And Vincenzo Landino, F1 analyst at the Business of Speed. All of those three guesting on the program today. We're going to go glass half full as well, looking at the NRL table. Before we do, though, a little bit of business. We're so close now to 5,000 YouTube subscribers. We're just over 100 away from knocking off that milestone. That would be huge if we could do it by the weekend. We need your help. So if you are watching on YouTube, please do us a favour. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment as well, because every Friday, Feedback Friday, it is. Comment Corner, where we comment on the comments that you have left us. If you are listening on Rover, or wherever you find your favourite podcast, thank you for supporting us through that medium. You can listen also, Google, Apple Play, Spotify, all of that. Leave us a comment across Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And again, we try and get back to as many as we possibly do. Big League Tuesday.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
How good is the NRL then? This com. Pretty hard to figure out, though, after 2 rounds. More all sorts than a licorice packet. The Warriors were absolute tripe in Las Vegas, and that was being kind to the Warriors, smacked by Canberra. But then play a Manly side that themselves had just belted the Cowboys. Last Friday night, rank outsiders the Wars turn up at Mount Smart and turn over that big, bad, but suddenly not so scary Manly mob 36-16. Most impressive. But that was just the first big shock in round 2. Next game up, the Roosters, who were put right to the sword by the Broncos in week 1, conceding 50 points. They got 10 on their injury list, yet they go to Penrith and they beat the 4-time defending premiers, putting on 38 points in the process. And this was a Panthers side who looked pretty assured in that opening round in Vegas against Cronulla, if you remember that game. I thought they looked as though they just stepped straight back onto the field a week after last year's grand final. Brisbane, who thrashed the Roosters so easily in the opening round, then go to Canberra and themselves get well beaten 32-22. The 4 sides with perfect 2-0 records are the Raiders, Souths, Knights and Bulldogs. The first 2 of those didn't make the 8 last year, and Newcastle just scraped in at 8th on points difference. Has this year's wooden spoon already been decided by round 2 with the Eels smacked up again on Sunday? A 32-6 loss to the Tigers after Melbourne put 56 on them the previous week. That's 88 points conceded. Do the maths in 2 games, and they do look weak. Is St. George going to be the comp's unlucky losers again? 2 games, 2 losses, and both of those they could have just as easily won. Could have, but didn't. What about the Dolphins? Is that fairy tale over already? Without Wayne Bennett in charge, they're one of 4 teams without a win. The most surprising, I guess, being the Cowboys, who've managed just 24 points and 2 big losses to Manly and the Dogs. They've scored 12 in each game. Last year, they were out the gate like lightning. They won their first 3. This year, they look a pale shadow of that team. Melbourne had the bye, as you know. Penrith, you know, are going to be there at the death. But as for the rest, it really is anyone's guess. So many storylines and talking points, topsy-turvy form, the Premier's beaten, couple of new upstarts making noise early, upset results. The NRL is just 2 weeks in and already the unpredictability and intrigue is compelling as the competition itself.
Devlin.
Time to play your favourite game, Lachlan, which is called...
Oh, jeez. Well,
Glass half full.
Football right now because we lost the League Cup final. It's not the NRL.
It's the NRL, baby. Glass half full. And I'm going to run through some sides for you, and you're going to tell me whether you're feeling glass half full, glass half empty.
Yes!
The Warriors.
Middle.
Harker, please. After beating Manly. After beating the also scary Manly.
Well, to the... okay, for starters, very ordinary round 1, good round 2. So that levels the playing field a little bit.
Very good round 2.
The Warriors were very good, yes. That was a terrible Manly side.
Okay. And?
I'm just saying, I'm not criticising the Warriors. You know, you can only beat what's in front of you.
That's right.
But it wasn't the Manly of round one. Now,
which is the man? Which side is Manly?
No, exactly.
Which side is the Warriors?
Who knows with Manly, because they have so much talent. They're very well-rounded, but they didn't turn up on Friday. The Warriors took care of business and they looked good. I thought Chanel played really well. Yeah. I thought both Roger and Tane Tuapiki looked good. I think Metcalf was good. There was a couple of moments, at least in this passing game, that I thought were... Well, I'd like to see more from the 7, but he's still developing. So I'm glass half full on Luke Metcalf. Again, I thought Chanel actually played really well. So no, good on the Warriors. But I'm middle, because if they can back that up with another win round 3, then I'm glass half full.
Yes! Well, glass half full or glass half empty with the Warriors' next opponent coming on Friday, the Roosters, who were ramshackled by your mob in round 1. And then they go down to Penrith with 10 on the injury list and put 38 points.
Yeah, that's a strange one again. This was a really weird round too. The Roosters, now they got just demolished by my Broncos in round 1, but I think many people would agree that when you look at that roster, it's actually still a good roster.
They've lost 1,000 games of experience. The Warriors talk about losing 800 games of experience. The Roosters have lost 1,000.
They've lost 1,000, but there's all these storylines around how they're pushing up these young players and they're relying on their youth. This wonderful academy of talent they've got, whatever. But they do have a lot of really good players in that team still. So to see them beat the Panthers, who you've gone on a lot about how great Penrith looked in Vegas. I don't think it was a perfect Penrith performance.
Oh, no, it wasn't. But for the first game of the season, it was pretty damn competent.
It was good.
Against a good Shark side.
From the standard that the Panthers have set over the last 4-5 years, if you want to count 2020 when they were the minor premiers but lost the grand final, I thought, okay, that's a good Penrith performance, but I've seen a lot better.
Yeah, but no one picked them to lose against the Roosters.
No, not at all. No, not at all.
The
Roosters were paying at one point, just before kickoff on Bet365, they were paying $11.
There you go. Okay.
The Roosters.
So that says everything. All right. Glass half full, glass half empty. Your Broncos. Now that's below the line. You cannot be glass half full with
I'm not glass half full. And as much as I've talked up our chances, there's been an asterisk next to it, and this is true. I've said we've got a lot to prove, but assuming we meet the expectations, we're looking good.
You're a nightclub team.
Let me finish.
You're a Spice Boy team, mate.
Shush, let me finish. We haven't met those yet. So I'm glass half middle.
Oh, you'd met them after round 1
yes,
when you put 50 points on.
Of course, glass half full. You're only as good as your last performance. We're at round 1. We looked superb. You yourself, we've got to admit that. And the Warriors... by comparison.
Yeah, that's right.
And it flipped. The Warriors looked good against Manly. We were just completely outplayed by Canberra. I got no complaints. It's like the League Cup final. Outplayed.
No, outplayed, out-enthused, out-desired, but hey, out-nightclubbing afterwards because we're the Broncos.
You've got to stop. Seriously, you've got to stop with this.
We took our shirts off and we nippled up in the nightclub. If you're a
Panthers fan or if you're a Storm fan, you can do that. You're a Warriors fan. You can't do that.
I can do that because you are that team. You are the Spice Boys of the competition, mate. That's who you are.
If we were the Spice Boys of the competition, we wouldn't have made a grand final a couple of years ago. We would have been a team for the last 5 to 10 years that had talent out the wazoo and underachieved every year, which hasn't been the case.
Nails look nice though, don't they?
Move on.
Nails are nice and painted, are they?
I can't reason. I can't reason with
knock.
You. Who's there?
Reece Walsh.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Where's he gone?
No, I don't think he watched the game on Saturday.
Where's he gone?
But he was...
disappeared.
I don't think he's come back from the off-season.
He hasn't come back from the nightclub.
He had seriously, stop
Seriously?
it. He had a couple of moments in round 1 in the Roosters game. He had a couple of moments where he looked good. He set up a try.
Hurts, doesn't it? It hurts. You're a bunch of nightclub fannies, mate. That's who you are. That's who the Broncos are. The rest of the league thinks that of you now. You're the club that's out there doing all of this, mate. Prove it on the field.
Okay, move on because you're ignoring...
Because I'm winning.
No, you're not winning. You're ignoring round 1. You're ignoring it.
Glass half full, glass half empty. Let's go. The 4 who are unbeaten. Souths, Knights, Raiders, Dogs. Melbourne are unbeaten, but these are 2-0. These have all started 2-0, these teams. 2 of those teams didn't make the 8 last year. The Knights got in by the skin of their teeth because points differential. So give me glass half empty, glass half full. On those 4 sides, maintaining those positions. 2-0. Souths, Knights, Raiders, Dogs.
Maintaining it.
Maintaining it, mate.
Bulldogs, yes. Knights, yes. I'd say the Knights, yes. The Rabbitohs, I'm not sure because they are missing some key players, but they've played. Well, then again, I don't think they've had 2 tough opponents.
Well, they've had 2 games where they have won and could have just as easily lost. I mean, St. George could be saying the same thing. We lost 2 games that we could have won, but they did win them.
So I'm not sure. I'm sort of middle of the road with the Souths. Who's the other team that's 2-0? So it's Knights, it's Dogs, Souths. Raiders. Oh, glass half full, absolutely. I think the Raiders have been the best team through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay. Isn't that amazing? For the first 2 weeks, they have been.
They did the same thing last year. They had a really good win round 1 last year against Newcastle. I can't remember who they beat round 2, but they started off really well, and then I think they lost their 3rd game to the Warriors, or their 4th game. They lost in Christchurch. The Raiders did this last year. So, and they didn't make the 8. They nearly did. But
they do. Points differential.
Yeah, and I think they were about 2 or 3 wins off the top 8, and then they made a contest of it in the last couple of weeks, but it was out of their hands. Yeah. So, well done Raiders, but pump the brakes. They did this last year.
Glass half full, glass half empty on the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys got off to a rocket start last year.
Glass half empty.
What has gone wrong with them? They scored 12 points in round 1, 12 points at home in round 2. Well, and they've looked woeful.
The same storyline. It's the same issue for the last 2 or 3 years. They can't defend. Some weeks they look superb defensively. Others they leak points at an alarming rate. But this year, it's not as if they're going 1 week good, 1 week bad on defence. It's just week on week on week.
This team is the biggest Jekyll and Hyde side. Last year they won the first 3 games. Then they were 4-6.
Well, what did they do in 2022?
And then they came back at the end. I think they
were 1 win away from a grand final. And then 2023, they were the year from hell team.
That's it. But last year they seemed to go on these where they'll win a whole lot of games, then they'll just lose a whole lot of games.
I think their big issue has been, as much as guys like Jeremiah Nanai and Murray Taulagi and Ruben Cotter have been real revelations the last couple of years and become these big, not stars, but elite-ish
fantastic Origin players.
Yeah, Origin, rep-level players. That's a good description of them. I just feel like they've always lacked that real elite top-tier talent. So the Roosters have had that. The Storm have had that for years, and they always do, particularly in their spine. The Panthers have it.
See, that's a contradiction when you say that, because they've got Origin players. They've got Jason Tomalola. They've got. Are they elite level players?
These are guys who have risen to that level the last couple of years, but it's not like already seasoned veteran elite talent. It's also their spine. So they've got Scott Drinkwater, who's a good fullback, who's on the cusp of Origin. They've got Reece Robson, who's made Origin, but if you're talking about the best hookers in the NRL, is he in the top 5? Maybe on his day. But who's their 6 and 7?
Okay, glass half full.
But it's the same issue that I think could plague the Dogs at some point, is that you just don't have that elite halves pairing. You're not going to win if you don't have an elite halves pairing.
Glass half full, glass half empty on the Broncos.
You asked me this already. I'm middle of the road.
You must be hell disappointed.
Oh, I was very disappointed on Saturday, but I still have faith in the talent that we have. I have faith in the coaching group. You've
gotten over it? You haven't gotten over it.
Well, mate, this team, there was about 4 or 5 years where this team, kicked me in the absolute downstairs.
Tell us the story about the grand final again.
No, I don't want to
Tell us the story about the grand final.
Why do I want to talk about something
because
that killed me?
You were in the crowd.
It was horrible. I don't want to talk about the grand final.
You saw as Ben Hunt knocked that ball on. You knew at that stage.
I don't want to talk about the grand final.
All you had to do was tackle one guy. You had 3 guys on him.
I don't want to talk about the grand final. I want to talk about 2025.
Did you watch that kick from the sideline from JT?
I was on the other side. I was sort of in. I was in the other corner, if you will, not corner, kind of middle.
Because that hit the post. Remember?
I know. I remember it, and I avoid any bit of highlighted conversation that I ever come across about it. So I want you to move on.
Glass half full, glass half empty. The Eels. Wooden spoon decided already.
Empty. But I don't think...
Hear me, I was picking them at the start of the year to have a great season.
Based on what?
Well, based on the fact that I don't think their roster's that bad. And also...
It's fine.
And I just said, they're a team to me that can't be a bunch of losers keeping it year after year. They're a team that... I mean, it was only a few years ago that they were actually challenging. They were up there. And I just can't see how they've fallen so much off the cliff. I keep thinking...
Well, they've lost some players.
They're a heritage club. They will come. I just keep expecting them to come back.
They have lost some players. Reid Marty, they still haven't found a hooker after he left. They've lost... Regan Campbell-Gillard was a strange one. I always thought he was a good front rower. He doesn't seem to get on with people, though. I think he's got maybe a bit of a character issue because there was issues with him at Penrith before he left there. And Clint Gutherson's gone now as well. They haven't seemed to find much of... They haven't matched the experience in terms of a replacement. Mitchell Moses is injured, And Dylan Brown's not the guy, despite the fact that Newcastle have signed him as this. I don't think he's your
How long's he going to stay, mate? Is he going to play the whole year?
He'll play the whole year? No,
year?
because there'll be salary cap issues.
Okay.
So whether or not the Knights can actually fit him in for the rest of this year.
Is he? This is what I can't. The only thing I can't stand about the NRL is a stupid transfer system. When a guy wants to go, let him go. Like if he's signed for 10 years for Newcastle,
you've signed a contract.
But if he's signed for 10 years for Newcastle, if this was
cool,
the
that starts next year.
That
starts next year. Football's different. Football operates differently because it has 2 transfer windows. The NRL.
What other sport in the world do you sign for another team in a year's time? No,
it happens in football. It happens in football. Absolutely, you sign contracts a year in advance.
Yeah, you don't play for that team. You don't play for this team, and then I'm going to go. Like there's no way.
No. Liverpool have done that with a goalkeeper. I can't remember how to pronounce his name. He's from Georgia, but this goalkeeper we signed the summer just gone, but he's coming back. He's coming to us next year.
Not a big name player like that. Like if you got Mo Salah and Mo Salah says I'm playing for Arsenal next year, he'd be out the door today. Okay, there's no way that you'd keep him in your team for that long. I don't understand.
But that's different. Dylan Brown's not saying to Parramatta, "I want to leave now. Get me out of here now." And I'm going to go play for someone next year and throwing his toys out the god. He's signed a contract to join someone from next year, but he's saying, I want to stick around at Parramatta this year.
Anyway, they're way below. The Eels have got the wooden spoon, do you think, already?
Right, you're 2 weeks into it. You can't say that.
All right, glass half full, glass half empty. We've already spoken about the Cowboys. Dolphins and Dragons. Both 0-2.
Dolphins, it doesn't surprise me.
I think the Dolphins are done too. One
of my bold predictions, if I may toot my own trumpet here
we go.
Pre-season was that they will struggle under a new coach because they don't have Master Coach Wayne Bennett there anymore. And Christian Wolf, I don't think he's ever had an NRL head coaching job, like a proper permanent job. He might have been an interim coach at some point.
The euphoria of being the new boy on the block and all of that kind of stuff. That's run now. That's run its course now. So,
and I just think the job's going to prove a bit trickier. And I don't know if he will lose his job, but I think the Dolphins will really struggle under Christian Wolf. It's not that Christian Wolf's not a good coach, it's that you're moving on from Wayne Bennett.
Just glass half full, glass half empty on the comp after 2 rounds. Now, we keep saying how great the Super Rugby comp has been after 5 rounds. How good is this thing after 2 rounds? I mean, these upset results are perfect, aren't they? That's what you need for a competition to kick it off. So that when you look at all the fixtures coming up on the weekend, you don't just go, oh, that's a box tick, that's a box tick, that's a box tick.
Yeah, it's never been that comp, but I like that nature of it, but I don't like it. I like it for games that don't involve the Broncos.
Yeah.
I hate it when we lose a game that I feel like we should win. But like the Penrith... Well, I'm also in a tipping comp. So, like, the Penrith Roosters game,
no one tipped the Roosters.
Furious because I tipped the Panthers. And then the Warriors-Manly game, I tipped Manly.
Of course.
So
I think
Friday
most people
was terrible.
did. If you put a double on that, if you'd had the Warriors backing into the Roosters, you would have made an absolute fortune. Final one, glass half full, glass half empty on the Warriors. Let's go back to that.
I told you at the start, middle of the ground. If they can beat the Roosters, which is absolutely winnable. Very winnable. If they beat the Roosters, then glass half full.
That'd be a 2-1 start. That's a hell of a start.
Yeah. Don't get too excited, but yeah, if you start 2-1. You can have these wonderful starts. You can get off.
I tell you what, it's like eating cold porridge, isn't it? You have to spoon it and eat it, and you hate every mouthful of it saying it, don't you?
No. If the Warriors look,
the Warriors right now are better than the Broncos. Put that out there. Stop it.
No, they're not. Look, that's like saying, would you say the Warriors are better than Penrith?
I said yesterday, Crusaders are going to win Super Rugby.
No, I want to talk. Would you say that the Warriors are better than Penrith right now?
No.
Okay.
Even though
why would you say that? Aside from the fact that the Panthers have won the last, or Melbourne even. Panthers have won the last 4 grand finals.
The Panthers have won the last 4 grand finals.
Okay, what about Melbourne? Are the Warriors better than Melbourne?
And I look at that Melbourne side.
Are the Warriors better than Melbourne?
The Melbourne haven't lost yet. No, and right at the beginning of the comp,
they're not.
Never better.
But why aren't they better than Melbourne? Because Melbourne have much more talent.
Yeah, Melbourne
have
a
much better team, and they have a better coach.
I still think Melbourne are the team
that's the same reason why the Broncos are better than the Warriors. They have more talent and they have a better coach. I think a lot of people, objective, unbiased people, would agree with that. I don't think that's a hot take at all.
This is the DSPN.